Okay, welcome back, guys. It's me, Andres Frederick, once again to this channel. And today, we have a very important guest that we have with us today. Like always, please subscribe, please like, and please share this information. And today, we're going to be interviewing a special guest today, and her name is Charisma Raphael. She's with us, a fellow entrepreneur like myself. Um, and she's going to share with us important and great insights and tips about hair care. Welcome, Charisma. How you been?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, so far so good. Every day glad to be alive and well. All right. Okay, so it's good to see you. Thank you for taking time off your schedule for this interview, which a lot of people are going to be looking at right now in this moment. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
And one of the main things that we have today is you're an entrepreneur, but you're also very good at hair care. So one of the questions I have for you is, what makes hair care so amazing?
Well, hair care is amazing because if you care for your hair, that will determine like the health of your hair. And I think it depends on, how much a person cares for their hair. That's going to determine whether or not they take care of it. And yeah.
Okay, so that's I'm glad you mentioned that. It's depending how the person put that care in it, it would determine how well it's going to stay healthy, the shine, and all those things. That's very important. So that's why it's so amazing. So another question I think a lot of people are dying to ask is like, why is it so important, the hair care? So why is it important? Can you elaborate more on that?
Well, I think it's important because first and foremost, your hair is something that people see on you every single day. So it's a reflection of how you take care of yourself. It's a reflection of your hygiene. And again, how you take care of it is a reflection of you. So it's very important to take good care of you, something that's growing out of your body, and when we get to things like styling and length or things like that, those are like optional. Like someone can take care of their hair and, it might not be the longest hair. Maybe you have short hair, but as long as you're taking care of that short hair and it looks the best that it can look, then that's the most important thing. Clean hair, well-kept hair, keeping up with your trims, and well moisturized hair as well. So I think that's why it's important. It's a reflection of you. And I think that's important. You want to show your best self to the world.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because you said a reflection on yourself is like it shows who you are. It makes a statement about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you take care of your hair, it's like, wow, this person, they look good. They wow, they got themselves together, or they just have good. A person that's take care of their hair could do. It speaks a lot of volumes on how they are, they discipline, the time they take to do that. And that's
Right,
very
right.
that's very important. That's very important. I'm glad you mentioned those
Mhm.
things. And it brings us to the next point, which is, what are 3 ways that we could keep our hair healthy?
Okay, so I have some notes here. 3 ways. I mean, there's so many, but you said three, so just a couple. I put down to create a personalized hair regimen. And why I say personalized, because what works for one person may not work for everyone. So you need to really get to know your hair, the characteristics of your hair, what your hair likes, what your hair doesn't like, and create a personalized regimen based on your hair. So that's number one. Did you want to add anything to that?
No, it sounds good. It sounds good.
Okay. So what did I put? Yeah. And so in the personalized regimen, I put that would um um have washing, deep conditioning, styling, trims, using protective measures, how you're sleeping on your hair, and things like that. So you have to create that regimen specifically for you. So that's point number one. Point number two I have is finding hair products that work well with your hair. Because again, your hair is personal to you and everyone's hair is different. So one product might work well for someone else. It may not work for you. So you have to experiment a little bit and see what works for you. And three, I put diet, because this is one that people overlook a lot. Like you think, okay, what can I put on my hair? What can I use to make it look pretty on the outside? But oftentimes we forget, like, our hair is a reflection of what's, we're putting in our body. So we need to focus on diet. I know something about like iron and protein and other vitamins. I'm not too knowledgeable about everything needed in terms of the diet, but we all know people say that protein, keratin, things like that, iron and stuff like that. So definitely diet, and I'm pretty sure you know a lot about that.
Yeah, it's just we are what we eat, and what we eat reflects externally how we appear. So yeah, it's true. The iron, the keratin, the different vegetables that we eat, it could make a difference between having your hair shine and having the hair healthy. So yeah, those are interesting points there. I'm glad you mentioned that point about that. Yeah, because there's sometimes I see people, they just, oh, she wear that product, let me wear that too, and then it doesn't necessarily work for you. So I'm glad you mentioned that point, because sometimes people get confused with those things.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you mentioned that point. And that also leads to the next point, which is since people trying to, maybe that's one of the things you're going to mention later on, is like, what are two mistakes people do when they treat their own hair, So
well, I have two mistakes that people can make is trying to copy another person's routine, because again, what works for one doesn't work for all, and not learning what styles or products work for their own hair. So again, it's a personalized journey. Everyone's on a hair journey, whether they know it or not, or whether they call it a journey, but in all actuality, that's what it is. So it's learning about your own personalized hair journey. So a mistake I would say people make is trying to copy what others do and not learning your hair and finding what works for you. Also, over processing your hair with chemicals, relaxers, using too much heat, like curling irons and like high heat blow drying constantly. I think that's a huge mistake for a lot of people. That really creates a lot of damage to the hair, and people don't even think about it. It's like, some people think, okay, it's part of their routine. It's like, okay, get up in the morning and use the curling iron to create a certain style, or when you wash your hair, like blow dry it to achieve a certain look. But people don't stop to think, okay, what am I doing to my hair over time? Like, is all this heat helping my hair? And so, yeah, that's what I think. Over processing with chemicals and high heat.
Yeah, I agree. I have to agree with that, because I've seen people with long routines, and yeah, all that heat has to do some damage. Yeah, that's a very good point. It's something to think about. Very, very good point that you thought about that. Yeah, but people think that it's normal for them. It's a normal procedure. But I'm glad you mentioned those details. Really good. And for any last words you'd like to tell the community about hair before we go off and close off?
Basically just to, again, personalize your hair routine. If you are like a beginner and you don't know where to start, you can start by looking at YouTube videos. And what I would say is try to find someone who has hair similar to yours, although no two heads are the same.
Yeah.
But I notice a lot of people, what they do sometimes, which is an error, is they have one type of hair texture and then they see another person's type who may seem like it's more likable to the masses, and they try to mimic that person, and they don't get the same results, and they become discouraged. So try to find people whose hair texture is similar to yours, and then build on that. Don't copy exactly, but try to experiment, and then try to see, like, you know, if there's products that you want to try based on that, that will help as well. And also just creating your own hair regimen. Like, okay, some people wash their hair every day. Some people wash it every week. Some people wash it bi-weekly. I've heard of people who wash their hair once a month. And it really matters. It doesn't matter. It depends on the person. Some people cannot wash their hair every day. So figure out what works for you. You may want to start to try to wash your hair like once a week and see, does that work for you? You know, it depends on your lifestyle as well. Do you have time in your schedule to do that? So basically, figure out what your hair goals are. Like, some people might not have any hair goals. Some people just may want to they don't care about their hair, but again, just make sure it looks clean and looks presentable. And yeah, come up with your own hair routine and identify your hair goals. And I think once you do those two things, then you'll figure out what you want, you know, and what works best for your hair. So
thank you so much about that excellent insight about hair care. Thank you for joining us today in this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. Just for those who are watching us, remember, you can also tag along with her channel, subscribe to her channel, Charisma For You. You can see that there. I'm going to post it down later below, so you can see it and follow as well. And we're going to stay in touch and keep on learning together. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And everybody that's joining us, stay tuned for new videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.